Alrighty guys, in this episode we're going to make this piece here. So I'm going to hit first tab into object mode, and then I want to put my cursor here. So luckily that lines up with my object origin, so I can do Shift S and cursor to active, and that'll put it here. If that is not your object origin, you could click on this edge and then do the same thing, Shift S, cursor to active. It goes right in the middle. And then Shift A and circle. RX90, 3, and S to scale in. And I'm just going to move it out so that I can see it a little bit better as I line these up. That seems to be about the right size. So now I'm going to pull it back and then extrude it forward. Extrude and scale in. And then E and S to scale out. And I kind of messed that up. It looks like it's pretty much straight down, and then at the bottom it kind of curves out. So scale that down to about there. This one can come back. There we go. And a similar thing here. Scale it up one time, and then E, left click, S to scale. And then I'm going to Alt Shift right click here and scale out this whole thing. E, left click, S to scale in. E, scale, reposition. Alright, so we're making pretty good progress on this thing. The end part is what I'm a little bit nervous about. It definitely gets a lot more complicated right here with these gaps. And I think we're just going to use the Boolean tool for that. I'm trying to think if there's a better way to go about creating those holes. Alright, so now that we made it to the end, it looks like this last hole is going to pretty much line up with this piece here. So why don't we extrude this in and scale it down to about there, and then extrude it back. And we just want to make sure that the inner hole is at least as wide as these cutouts here. So I don't think that's quite big enough. Alright, so how do we want to make the cutouts here? I did find a second reference image which shows us a lot more detail of what this should look like. So my plan of action here is to recreate that shape as a separate object and then use that as a cookie cutter to kind of chop the shape out of this model. So I'm going to start with a circle. And I did position my 3D cursor at the center of this by Alt right clicking and then Shift S and cursor to selected. Shift A, add a circle. And I want to make it have about 64 vertices. Tabbing into edit mode. Why did that happen? Okay, so this is all one object right now. So I'm going to select everything and P to separate selection. Grab that object in object mode and then tab back into edit mode. And there's going to be a certain level of just kind of like eyeballing this. I'm not sure how we could make this mathematically perfect. But I think the cutout looks like it's about that wide. So now I'm tabbing into edit mode. I'm going to go into vertex selection and grab one vertex. Move this whole thing up. And just taking the bottommost vertex with proportional editing, so that's O on the keypad. Why don't we scroll in, and we need to be on median point right now. G, scroll in, and bring this down. And I'm going to try inverse square here. Alright, so that to me, and scale it down on the x-axis. That to me looks pretty close to that inner cutout part. And then once again, I'm just going to add a circle. Scale it down. Tab into edit mode. Scale it up. And then scale way up on the y-axis. Like that. And I'm going to select both of these and hit Control J to join them. And then W and bridge edge loops. O to deactivate proportional editing. And then I'm going to extrude this down and hit F to create a face. And I want this to come all the way through the model. And somehow we have the mirror modifier attached to this object. Are we editing something else right now? No, just that. Well, I don't remember adding that, so just delete that guy. Scale it up on the Z. Alright, so I think that should be good enough for the cutout. We'll probably have to tweak it later, but for now, why don't we just try that? So I'm going to go into the weapon, add a Boolean modifier, and take the difference with the cylinder. Actually, circle 2 is what I meant to say. Circle 2. And it's not happy about that because we have it right on the center of the mirror. And also it's below the mirror. If we move it up above the mirror, it doesn't do that. Alright, so what do we think about that? The shape seems relatively close, but the topology is kind of weird. And it's definitely too sharp here.